There are certain jobs on the battlefield that you never really forget once you truly understand what they involve. Combat engineers, in my opinion, are one of those roles that are highly underappreciated and valued in the military world, and I have a lot of respect for those combat engineers out there, particularly those of you who are watching today. Maybe you're a veteran, previously serving, or you're still serving today. It's a huge task to take on being a combat engineer, and I know many of them in the Canadian Armed Forces, chimo to those who are serving. I know I'm not allowed to say it, but I'm going to say it anyway. And they're the ones holding the ground either before or after it's taken. And what do I mean by that? Well, they are literally the tip of the spear. We always think about either the infantry or the armoured going in first, and to be fair, the engineers most of the time are actually one of the ones going in first for anyone else because they're clearing the obstacles, minefields, and everything that is at the tip of the spear of the fight. They are the ones having to move forward, and when the ground itself is designed to kill you, minefields, wire, tank ditches, obstacles, they exist purely to stop momentum and expose anyone trying to cross them. Engineers do not get the luxury of distance. They operate right at the point where theory ends and the reality of a plan begins, and I have to say, I wouldn't personally want to be an engineer in true combat of today because, sadly, and the reality is, you're probably one of the first to die. And that's why I think drones, particularly things like smoke deploying drones, are going to matter far more to engineers than most people realise. Now, breaching is one of those tasks that looks fairly simple on map and brutal in real life. From the moment engineers step forward, they are of course a highly valued target. They're observed right away, just like the artillery is in the rear of the battalion or the battle group or whatever else is going on. Highly valued asset that tends to be engaged by drones or, recon units or armor if they can get around the flanks. Engineers are at the front, and they are very sought after to take out because if they cannot get through the obstacles, the rest of the battle group is going nowhere, and everything about a breach draws attention. Vehicles slow down, dismounted troops cluster up, and equipment comes out. And time, in my opinion, going through exercises with engineers, it seems like time stretches. The breach takes so much time, but it's a very complicated process, and that's why smoke has always been such an important tool, not to make the engineers invisible, of course, but to reduce the enemy's ability to see clearly, to track, to aim, and obviously to decide what they're going to do next. Now, I have seen smoke used very well, and I have seen it fail completely. Now, from an artillery perspective, smoke is always a bit of a gamble. You got to calculate the wind and predict the dispersion, you fire, and then you watch what happens. Sometimes it works perfectly, sometimes it lifts, sometimes it drifts, sometimes it clears us far sooner than planned, and once it's fired, there's really nothing more you can do. You either send more and adjust. Not ideal in the artillery world. There's a limitation of traditional smoke is what I'm trying to say here, and the lack of control is where the real weakness of traditional smoke appears. Of course, many of you are going to be screaming in the comments section right now saying, Matt, smoke's useless because there's thermal imaging and different sighting systems now to go through smoke. I understand that, but at a battle group level, that's not always going to be available, or those assets may have been taken out, or there'd just be so much smoke that it actually just confuses as to what you're even looking at. Maybe you're looking at 6 different breaches at once. It certainly does help, and I will never say that smoke is not relevant to a modern-day breach. Smoke rounds really don't care what the engineers need in that moment. They don't adapt, they don't move, they simply exist until the physics decides otherwise. When the wind changes, the smoke shifts, and the train channels it somewhere useless, and that's not going to be very useful for the engineers, which is why drones adapting smoke is a different way to think of doing things. Now imagine a smoke that does not come from the gun line, but specifically from the engineers themselves. And this isn't new, this has been happening for some time, but small aerial drones carrying smoke generators, something compact, something mobile, something that can stay airborne and actively shape the smoke screen as conditions change, to me is incredibly useful. And let's be honest, this isn't new, this is me just kind of focusing in on something that I do feel is a bit of a fundamental shift in the way in which drones are being utilised. We tend to see drones in a reconnaissance standing, or being used as a projectile or a bomb, but using a smoke-generated drone, in my opinion, is the first time I've ever seen it within the last week of kind of researching this topic, is quite fascinating to me. And one thing that I find doesn't get talked about enough is the angle of the way in which smoke can be used. Most modern screens are planned for a general direction, but modern battlefields are becoming vertical. Observation does not just come from the front, it comes from the flanks, elevated positions, top-down drones, and optics looking down upon you instead of across. Static smoke screens do not encompass for that. A drone does. It can deny specific line of sight and can thicken smoke where it matters most, depending on where you want it to be, particularly in windy conditions, and it can obviously reposition as the engineers move forward or pause, because guaranteed when they're going through the breach, something is going to go wrong or not go to plan. It's just the way it goes. And that kind of responsiveness is something that artillery smoke simply cannot provide. Now, none of this ignores the reality, as I said before, of thermal imaging. Yes, modern sensors can see through certain types of smoke. Anyone telling you otherwise is lying to themselves. But smoke was never about being perfect. Smoke buys seconds, not minutes. It's literally there as a contingency. Smoke really does force a little bit of hesitation, though, particularly of the ground commanders. If you don't have any smoke, well, then you have clear line of sight no matter what. If you have smoke, it complicates things even minusculely to whoever is trying to engage you. And even thermals can struggle when the contrast drops. When movement becomes ambiguous, the multiple heat sources overlap into a dense screen. For engineers, even a small reduction in clarity can mean the difference between finishing a task in a breach and taking on casualties. Another thing the drones bring to the table is a bit of persistence. Artillery smoke is consumed the moment it is fired. Once it dissipates, you start again from zero. With the drone, you can land it, refuel it, reload it, and potentially re-roll it. Maybe you want to use it as not only a smokescreen vehicle, but also a reconnaissance platform as well. And if you really wanted as kind of a kamikaze drone, you could do that too. Now, I don't often talk about Ukraine, but it does have a defensive reality. If you look at what's happening there, the relevance becomes so much clearer. Defensive lines are becoming extremely long. I saw some footage the other day of almost like the Maginot Line level of defenses that Ukraine is building, and the obstacles are extremely, very actually, intense and quite deliberate, and everything is designed to slow, expose, and destroy oncoming forces. Tank ditches, hedgehogs, dragon's teeth, layered minefields, huge embankments, and breaches have never more, I think, had such a challenge with modern day capabilities of making defenses. And you can see that we're getting heavier breaching vehicles pushing through obstacles as drones also. And although they are still remote controlled and taking away the risk of losing crew members, they'll still easily be taken out, like many of you say nowadays on every single video I talk about armor or tanks is, it can get taken out by a drone. Yes, gathered, drones taking out drones is probably what we're going to see a lot more in the future. But the concept stands out to me because it addresses a problem that has basically existed for decades but put a completely different spin to it. The environment engineers need to have the advantage on at the breach is crucial. And ironically, drones, which have become part of the greatest threats of the battlefield, also become one of the most important tools for protecting them. Engineers have always been exposed. Let's not, sugarcoat it here, but smoke, I find in this configuration, hasn't really been perfected, and the wind has always been the enemy, and drones don't remove the risk. I don't think anything ever will. But they do give a little bit of control back to those engineers who need it at the specific points where the decision matters on the breach. And it's really not about replacing traditional systems. We already have smoke generators, and I think with remote control drones that are being utilized with the Pythons for taking out minefields, with the Abrams with the plows on and all that good stuff, plowing through berms, they're all going to be relevant. But I do think smoke is underutilized, and this technology is really saying we can adapt this a lot better. Instead of sort of a response and a react, it's kind of preparing a lot ahead of the battlefield, the breach, and shaping how that breach will happen in real time instead of committing to a plan and then just hoping it holds, particularly like that with fire planning and artillery. From where I stand, it's not really just interesting technology. This is very meaningful in the shift of how engineers could survive with modern warfare and utilizing of drones. We see so much of just the, drones used as a weapon or used as reconnaissance. It can be used as an engineering tool. So, folks, what do you think of this? Do you think this is kind of, pointless? Do you think, a smoke drone is irrelevant in today's battlefield? Do you think I'm overthinking it? Or do you think that this is something we're going to see expand even more on? Maybe drones that can be used in almost a sort of a defensive configuration, maybe strobes, IR strobes that are blinding to those who are trying to engage at the breach. Who knows? Maybe there's all sorts of different technology out there that they can put into drones to defend engineers as they go through the crucial, deadly point of an attack and trying to get through obstacles. I'd love to hear your opinion. If you want more discussions like this where I slow down a little bit and actually think through how some of this technology affects the roles on the battlefield, please make sure you let me know. And if you're not subscribed, of course, usual cliche, cringy YouTube stuff, click the like button, subscribe, and all that good stuff. And as always, thanks for taking time to watch. All the best, folks. Take care. Bye-bye.